Hey, this is Ben, and in this video I'm going to share with you how to completely dissolve stress from your life in 5 minutes. Now this is going to be some extremely powerful stuff. This is stuff that's just totally changed my life. In fact, just this last week, this shift in paradigms for me completely changed my whole experience, and I'm still kind of buzzing off this experience that I had. And essentially it went like this. I was doing some strong concentration meditation where you focus very exclusively on one single point, really just focus on that one point for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It's very difficult to get beyond 5, 10, 15 minutes. And I was doing that, and I was staring at this leaf. And as I stared at this leaf, something strange started happening. I started feeling like I was falling in love with this leaf. And one of the ancient sayings goes that whatever we focus on, we fall in love with. Whatever we give all of our focus to, we actually fall in love with. Whatever we behold. And you're probably aware of this in your own life. If you've ever stared into someone's eyes for a few minutes, if you don't want to kill them, you start to feel this very strong bond with that person. And it's just a natural thing that happens. Whatever we really focus on, we begin to feel this strong affinity for. And so I was doing this, and as I was doing it, I started to just really get this realization that I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not, this isn't me. Like this skin here, this isn't me. This is just a part of me. And I really began to associate with the leaf that I was staring at. And I began to see that as a part of me. And as I was doing that, it's just like all these light bulbs started going off, and things that I kind of know mentally started to make sense on an experiential level. And so I came out of that experience, and that day I was with my family, and we've all got hang-ups with our family. We've all experienced moments of resistance with our family because they're the people closest to us. Hopefully they're the people closest to you. And anyway, after coming out of this very powerful experience and being in a bit of a very open state because of some other practices I'd been doing through that week, and just generally focusing a lot more on my meditation and getting into that state of awareness a lot more often, I was with my family, and just the normal things that annoy me about my family started coming up. Just those normal things that annoy all of us about our family. And there was this one moment where we're all in a room together, and there was a few of us there. And I was just kind of watching, observing these things that were going on, just kind of a little bit introverted, just kind of observing. And just something just broke, something completely broke in me. And I began to see just so clearly that my family are all going to pass on one day. I'm going to pass on one day. And we all know this, but I began to really feel that. I began to feel very, very deeply connected to that. And something about that realization, and something about the realization that this is all us. Okay, we are the whole universe. We're not the ego. We are all of it, really. And the realization that I've spent so much of my life judging that part of myself, which is my family, and saying it's not good enough in this way or that way, nitpicking, finding faults, being annoyed by the things that they do, the little habits that all of our families have. I began to realize there was absolutely no need for that. There's no need for me to judge, criticize, try to change, expect better of, or any of this stuff. And as I had that realization with my family, I had the realization for my whole life. There is absolutely no need for us to resist anything going on in our life. Resistance, this is something I've wanted to share on for a while, but resistance is actually the cause of all your suffering. Every time that you have something happen to you or for you, and you resist it, and you go, I wish that didn't happen, or that's wrong, I'm going to try and protect myself from that, that can't happen again, that's just wrong, that's bad, that's evil, I'm better than that, or any of that stuff. Anytime you're doing that, you're resisting it. Anytime you're not accepting life the way it is, you're resisting it. Now, I can hear people going, you know, does that mean we just do nothing with our life? Does that mean that we don't take initiative and change things and grow? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we need to completely let go of Thinking that things should be a certain way. That is the source of all of your suffering. So there's this ancient Buddhist saying that perfectly illustrates this, which just really, really got me the other week. And it goes like this. Pain times resistance equals suffering. Pain times resistance equals suffering. So anytime you resist this pain that's hitting you, there's stuff happening in your external world and you're like pushing against it, you're saying, that's not me, I don't like that, I don't want to have anything to do with that. That is creating suffering for you. That's creating suffering. And not many people are ready to hear that, because we do have to go through this natural process. And if you're still going through that natural process where you first have to try to control your external world, try to control the pain, try to force it out of your life, you will go through that process where you realize, I can't actually control anything. All I can control, and even that's up for question, is my response to it. It's the only thing you can control, but you have to go through the process of trying to force things to go your way first. I definitely have been going through that process a lot through my life lately. But you get to this point where you realize pain times resistance equals suffering. So how do we stop suffering? Well, it's quite simple. The opposite of resistance is acceptance. Or you might even say embrace, which is kind of like a little bit further, but acceptance. So pain times resistance equals suffering. Pain times acceptance equals bliss. It's pretty crazy shit, right? Bliss, like euphoria, feeling really good, being in that flow peak state. Yes, that's what happens when you accept your pain. That's what happened, in fact, when I had that moment when I looked at my family the other day and I just completely accepted them, maybe for the first time in my life, just completely accepted them. Something in my heart just kind of gave way and I was just crying for the rest of the day. It was just really a profound experience. And that was what I was going through, this huge release, and it was this blissful feeling of letting go. And so how can you actually implement that yourself? Well, it's pretty simple. You just have to accept the fact, and this is not something that a lot of people are ready to hear. So again, unless you're kind of already on this journey of really expanding your consciousness and raising your awareness, this is going to be hard for you to accept. But you have to get to a place within yourself where you accept the fact that there is no bad or good. There is just stuff happening. And in fact, all of that stuff that's happening out there, and this is crazy because there are actually people suffering out there, but all of that is somehow perfect. Somehow. And not perfect in the sense of airy-fairy, rose-tinted glasses. Oh, it's all good. There's 20,000 children passing away from malnutrition each day. Somehow just going, oh, that's fine, that's good, whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about, genocide and warfare and murder and rape and all of this stuff and going, oh yeah, you really want to encourage and endorse. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is, in some way, you have to get to the place, you don't have to, but it'll really, really help you if you do, where you look at everything that's going on in the world and everything that's going on within yourself as somehow perfect. Somehow there's some kind of order to it that you can't rationally make sense of, and emotionally it's difficult to make sense of to begin with. But somehow there is a reason for everything, and everything is just as it is right now, and there's no need to project your judgment onto that and say, that's wrong and this is right. My way's better, that way's wrong. Because whenever you do that, you're inflicting suffering upon yourself. So first of all, accept that all things, just as they are good, perfect. That's the way I see it. They're not good, bad, duality, that kind of stuff. Everything is just as it should be right now, because that's how it is. And what this does is it allows you to accept things for what they are. And when you first accept things for what they are, you stop this cycle of suffering. And in fact, the pain that's happening in your life begins to feel, in an odd way, positive. You stop resisting it and it feels somehow positive, and you realize, and you look back, and I'm sure you can look back on any deep issues that you've resolved in your life. in a conscious way and say, I'm actually sort of glad that those things happened, because look at the person I've become today. Not that I would wish that on anyone, or not that I would consciously choose that to happen or try and make that happen, but looking back, I'm actually glad that I went through those things, because look at the person that I've been able to become today. And that might not be the case for you if you haven't worked through some of that stuff, but as you move through this process of acceptance, deepening your consciousness, and just being at peace with things, that will happen. So that first step is acceptance. And then the second step for you to eliminate all stress from your life is then, once you've accepted it and once you've noticed that you don't feel compelled to make anything happen or to try and force anything to happen, then you can go about your day-to-day business of changing things out of a conscious choice just because you choose to, not because you have to, not because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't, but just because you choose to. Coming from that place of responsibility and conscious choice is extremely empowering, and it means that there's never going to be stress around doing this stuff. It's going to be out of a state of flow. It's going to be out of a state of consciousness. And that's where things really fall into place beautifully, and you just have this ongoing state of peace in your life. So that's just something I wanted to share with you. Just a couple of little shifts in perspective that, if you can embrace this stuff, will really change the game for you. I'm not saying it's by any means something I've mastered yet, but it's certainly something that I'm accepting more and more each day and working on each day, and it's just opening all kinds of crazy doors up. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Please share it with a friend. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on a future video.